The front door hit the wall with a thud hard enough to shake the picture frames. I didn't turn from the coffee machine. Her heels dragged across the tile like someone trying not to fall, and when I finally glanced over, hair wild, makeup streaked, blouse half untucked, she looked like she'd crawled out of someone else's night. It was 8:02 in the morning. "You're just now getting home?" I asked, not loud, just flat. She squinted at the light like I was the one waking her up. "Don't ask stupid questions," she muttered, slurring it a bit. "It's none of your business." Then she actually laughed, a short, ugly sound. Popped the cork off the wine bottle we'd opened 2 nights ago, poured herself 3 fingers into a coffee mug, and vanished into the bedroom without another word. I didn't move. My hand stayed resting on the counter, the smell of dark roast rising like steam off pavement after rain. There wasn't a fight, no big scene, just something quiet and final, like hearing the last click in a combination lock you hadn't known was spinning. That moment didn't blow up. It calcified. If you're still listening, and any of this feels uncomfortably familiar, hit like and subscribe. Most people just listen in silence, but that one click tells the team these stories matter. I stared at the space where she'd stood, watched the slow drip from the coffee spout hit the warming plate, every detail lodged in place, the red scuff on her heel, the smudged lipstick she didn't bother fixing, the way she didn't ask how I slept. Just silence, like I wasn't part of her story anymore, and maybe I hadn't been for a while. The TV still had her show paused from the night before, some crime drama. Episode 3 of something she said she'd wait for me to watch. The remote was on the floor. I walked over, picked it up, put it back on the table, then went to the hall closet and pulled out the small suitcase we use for weekend trips. My hand didn't shake, my breath didn't catch. I just set it on the bed and opened it quietly while she slept off the night like nothing had happened. The mug of wine sat half drunk on the nightstand. Her phone buzzed once. I didn't look. I didn't need to. She thought it was a careless remark, but that morning gave me permission. Not to explode, not to plead, to leave, quietly, with intention. By noon, she hadn't stirred. The wine was still on the nightstand, now room temperature and untouched since dawn. Her phone lay face down, silent. The blackout curtains made it feel like the middle of the night, even as the world outside brightened. I moved through the house quietly, deliberately, like someone handling broken glass. I started with the top drawer of my desk, passport, birth certificate, bank documents, titles. I slid them into the folio I'd prepared weeks ago, tucked away behind my old drafting manuals. She never touched those. Too boring, she once said. Beneath them had always been safe. The sound of the zipper felt louder than it was. I paused. Nothing, just her slow, heavy breathing down the hall. I opened the closet next, only half mine these days, though that line had been blurring for a while. I took what mattered, left the things she'd bought for me. Shirts I didn't like, shoes I never wore, a cologne she said smelled like status. She could keep the illusion. Downstairs, I unplugged my laptop, cleared the sink, and reset the drive. The motion was mechanical. I'd done dry runs in my head before, like fire drills you pray you never need, but there's something steadying about repetition, even if it's the rehearsal of an ending. I didn't touch the photos, not yet. Just slid one into my folder, the one from our first fall together upstate before she started wearing other faces in front of other people, when we still talked late into the night about anything, before "don't ask stupid questions" became the closing line of the day. The envelope was already written, simple, neutral tone, no bitterness. Just a note that said, "I'm stepping back, not lashing out. We both know something broke a while ago. You just said it out loud first." Attached was a separation draft I'd had prepped 3 months earlier. There was one clause circled in red ink: voluntary forfeiture through contempt. I placed it on her dresser, right next to the highlighter she used for her work notes. She wouldn't see it until Monday. Her schedule was always light on weekends, heavy on pretense. And Monday, she'd have to read every word, because silence doesn't erase legal signatures. By sunset, the guest room was cleared. The car was packed neatly. I didn't need help. I didn't leave a trail. Just a clean line drawn through the middle of a shared life that hadn't been shared in a long time. Stillness doesn't mean surrender. It means I stopped giving her chances to notice I was already gone. The first missed call came around 9:12 a.m. on Monday. I let it ring until it stopped. No vibration, no alert tone, just a quiet screen lighting up, then going dark again. She tried once more around noon, then again, early afternoon. By evening, it was 6 in a row, all unanswered. I didn't block her. That would have been too loud, too emotional. I just disappeared in plain sight. My work email, the one she always forwarded junk to or copied on errands like insurance renewals or dinner RSVPs, now returned a bounce back. This address is no longer active. Short. Cold. The way most endings are when done right. She hadn't asked about my job in months, hadn't noticed the changes in routine or the way I started locking my phone at night. When I stopped leaving my schedule on the fridge, she didn't even blink. What she never asked about, never even saw, was the guest house. My parents' estate upstate had been sitting mostly unused since Dad passed. Last summer, while she was on a team retreat in Miami, I met with a contractor. Designed it myself, a full renovation of the detached structure out back. I told her it was sentimental, wanted to preserve it. She shrugged. Sounds expensive. Now it was finished. Clean lines, warm wood, dark tile floors that never held a footprint. 2 rooms, blackout shades, a stocked fridge, and quiet. Not loneliness, just space. The kind that feels earned. She called again Tuesday. This time she left a message. Hey, just wondering where you are. We should talk. No anger in her voice. Not yet. Just the creeping edge of uncertainty, like someone realizing they left a window open in the rain. By Wednesday, she texted. Then again, one came through late that night. Are you okay? You're scaring me. I read it once, then let it sit there. Thursday morning, she called my brother. He didn't tell me, he knew better, but he did answer her. I imagine her tone. Light at first, then slightly raised, maybe even demanding. He told me what he said, word for word. He warned you. We all heard it. You laughed. He hung up after that. No debate. By Friday, her voice messages started changing, a hint of desperation now. Not quite apologies, just flares in the dark, asking where I was, what I wanted, if we could reset. But you can't reset when the operating system's gone. She didn't know where I'd gone. But the truth was simpler than she realized. I'd been leaving for months. I'd just stopped announcing it. It was a Sunday night when the photo found her. One of those harmless scrolls, wine in hand, pretending to care about someone else's engagement, someone's new puppy, someone's vacation photo dump. Then her thumb froze mid-scroll. The post was from Ava, mutual friend, although lately more on my side than hers. The image was glossy, professional, taken at some high-ceilinged event hall with gold trim and a string quartet barely visible in the background. A private equity gala in the city. The caption was brief. Congratulations, Marcus, new advisory chair, well earned. But it wasn't the caption that hit her, it was the image. There I was, standing near the center, tall, in a tailored charcoal suit she'd never seen before. Tie sharp, watch familiar, but no ring. My hand rested loosely on a highball glass, my smile tight but calm, the way I used to be before she chipped away at it. And next to me, a woman in a dark green dress, elegant, composed. She wasn't clinging to me, no arm around mine, just standing present with posture that spoke of self-possession and no need to explain her place. She zoomed in, twice. Her thumb trembled. There wasn't anything explicit, no touch, no kiss, just proximity, and something in my expression she hadn't seen in years. Ease, a man who didn't owe anyone an answer. Her wine glass hit the edge of the side table and shattered across the hardwood. She didn't even curse, just stared at the phone like it had said something unforgivable. The panic came slow, then fast. She opened our last thread. No reply. Still no read receipts. She started typing, you look, then deleted it, typed again. I didn't know. Backspaced, nothing fit. She checked my LinkedIn. Updated. Strategic Advisory Chair. Kendrell and Holt Capital. Effective that week. She scrolled to the bottom. No mention of her name, not in projects, not in acknowledgments, not in the past. That's when it hit her. I hadn't disappeared. I had evolved. She thought I was hiding somewhere, licking wounds, maybe even waiting to be forgiven, but I'd already stepped into the next chapter and done it in a room full of people who mattered, people who respected silence and action more than words and noise. People who didn't ask where I'd been at 8 in the morning. They only cared what I'd built. She wasn't looking at a man who left. She was looking at a man who'd been elevated without her. The envelope came on a Tuesday, thick, heavy stock paper in a registered mail packet, signature required. She didn't recognize the return address at first, just a firm out of Raleigh, discreet name, no clue in the branding. She signed for it without thinking, one hand still holding a protein shake, half her attention on a podcast. She opened it on the kitchen island. Inside, a letter, formal, polite. As per the instructions of our client enclosed, please find the executed transfer deed for the residential property at... She read the address twice. Our address, her address, now. Attached was a full deed, gifted, transferred solely to her name, not shared, not conditional. At first, she smiled. She even whispered finely under her breath, like some part of her thought this was my white flag, my attempt at closure, maybe even guilt. She missed the second envelope at first, slipped under the larger one, thinner, not folded. When she opened it, her nails tapped twice against the paper before she read the words out loud. Pending litigation regarding subfloor drain collapse. Initiated September 14th. Attached photos and contractor reports. Liable party. Recorded owner of title as of October 1st. She blinked, looked at the date again. October 1st, 4 days after the gala photo. Then came the second punch. Second mortgage, initiated under owner equity draw provision, approved and finalized October 5th. Her name. Her signature, one I had legal authorization to proxy for from back when we refinanced during her job change. She'd forgotten. Last page, HOA lien, 7,130.34 reinstated for unpaid special assessments and non-compliant renovations, unauthorized back patio extension. Responsible party, current legal title holder. She dropped the papers. They scattered across the floor like autumn leaves, one corner catching on the leg of the bar stool. She grabbed her phone and called her lawyer. He picked up on the second ring, always polite with her, always trying to protect her from herself. I got this packet, she said, her voice tight. The house is in my name. But he attached all these things. Liens, a lawsuit, a second mortgage? What the hell is this? There was a pause on the line. Then the lawyer's voice came steady, low. He gave you exactly what you asked for, Madison. You wanted it clean, yours. No more gray areas, no more his name on anything. But it's all legal, he said gently, and it's all final. She didn't reply, just stared out the window at the backyard, the one with the patio she insisted on, the contractor she hired without telling me, the extension built outside code because nobody checks those things. The house was hers. Every brick of it, every leaking pipe, every unpaid notice in the HOA mailbox she rarely opened, no co-owner to split it with, no fallback to lean on. She wanted to win, and she did. The prize was the burden. Julian always answered her texts, until now. For 3 days she tried, first casual, then a little more desperate. Finally, she typed it plainly. Can you tell him I need to talk? It was a mistake. I wasn't thinking that morning. He replied only once. No emojis, no soft edges. You told him his presence didn't matter. He listened. She stared at the screen, waiting for more. Nothing came. Julian had been there through it all. Best man at our wedding, game nights, cookouts, the kind of friend who never meddled, never chose sides. Until now, she knew what that meant. And yet, hope is stubborn. That Saturday, she dressed carefully. Pale blue dress, low heels, a necklace she'd worn the day we met. The invitation had come from a nonprofit she used to volunteer with, a charity brunch at the Ridgeline Club. The guest list included donors, board members, and one name that stopped her breath when she read it, Marcus D., honorary patron. I hadn't used our last name. She drove across town rehearsing lines in her head. Apologies, explanations, maybe even tears if that's what it took. She pictured it like a movie. How I'd be surprised to see her, how the moment would soften when she spoke, how I'd remember us before everything cracked. But life isn't a script. She arrived late. The valet took her keys. She crossed the marble lobby quickly, heart in her throat, heels clicking too loud. The event was already in full swing, people mingling over champagne and fruit plates, live cello in the corner. And there I was, across the room, speaking with two board members, suit tailored, posture easy, laughing, not performing, just at peace. She stepped forward. That's when the hand came out. "Ma'am," a calm voice said. "Security." Polite but firm. "Guest access only. Observers remain in the designated section." "I'm not just an observer," she said, heat rising. "I know him." The man didn't budge. "Your badge says observer. I'm going to have to ask you to stay behind the line." She looked down. The badge clipped to her dress was white, no color bar, no access. "Please," she said softer now. "Just 2 minutes. He'll want to see me." From where I stood, I hadn't even turned around. The security guard tapped his earpiece. "Control, confirm? Observer requesting contact with Mr. D." A brief pause, then, "Mr. D respectfully declines." She felt the words land in her chest like ice. She looked again, hoping for some signal, a glance, a hesitation, anything. But I never looked back. She'd come hoping to rewrite the scene, but her access had expired, credentials revoked, and no one rewinds a clock that was never theirs to begin with. The apartment was dark, except for the glow of her phone face down on the nightstand. She'd tried to sleep, God knows she tried, but her thoughts kept folding in on themselves, replaying the brunch, the security guard's calm voice, the look on my face when I didn't even look. She kept telling herself it didn't matter, that I was being dramatic, that I'd come around. I always had, but beneath the anger was something quieter, something sharp and cold. At 2:13 a.m., her phone buzzed once. She grabbed it, thumb already ready to unlock, and there it was. One message, still none of my business. That was it. No name, no contact photo, just a plain gray message bubble. 6 words that sliced through every excuse she'd tried to build since that morning at 8:02. Her stomach knotted. She clicked the number. Nothing. Unavailable. She hit back. Typed quickly. "I didn't mean it like that. I was drunk. We were in a weird place. Can we please?" Send failed. She tapped the thread. User not found. She went to her contacts. The number was gone. Checked our old messages. Archived. Buried deep. The history stopped cold. Like someone had yanked the wire from the wall mid-call. It wasn't blocked. It was erased. Her chest rose and fell faster now, panic creeping under her skin. She opened Instagram. No profile. Checked Facebook. Same. Even my LinkedIn was gone. Vanished or restricted, she couldn't tell. Her entire window into my life had gone black. She looked at the message again. Still none of my business. 6 words. Not angry, not begging, just precise. Like a final file sent seconds before a system shuts down. She tried refreshing the thread, swiping down, restarting the phone. Nothing changed. Around 3:00, she put the phone down face up, screen still lit, like I might appear again. At 4:30, she sat on the edge of the bed, fingers curled around the blanket, jaw tight. By 5:41, the sun started coming through the curtains. She watched her own reflection in the glass, hair tangled, eyes hollow, the same face she'd laughed through that morning with wine in a coffee mug and someone else's scent still clinging to her. Back then, she'd smirked, "Don't ask stupid questions." Now the only face looking back was her own, unanswered, pixelated, and alone. The mirror hadn't lied. It had waited. The envelope arrived by courier, hand-delivered with a discreet gold seal and no return address. She didn't recognize the emblem, just a raised crest she vaguely remembered from one of my old pitch decks. She turned it over, slid it open with a steak knife, and pulled out the invitation printed on thick linen stock. Founders Circle Induction Ceremony. 1 seat, reserved. Her name was printed beneath an elegant serif font. No +1, just her. At first, she didn't know what to make of it. It had been weeks. The silence, the blocked accounts, the unanswered messages, then this, a formal invite, no explanation, no contact number, just a time, a place, and the words, "black tie required." She read it twice, maybe 3 times, then moved quickly. Dry cleaner, shoes polished, hair appointment, makeup trial, a navy dress with structure and presence, the kind of dress that told a story before you spoke. She imagined walking in, catching my eye. She'd be calm, apologetic, maybe even self-deprecating. She rehearsed a few lines on the drive there, phrases like, "I see things clearer now," and "maybe we rushed the ending." The ceremony was held at a private club downtown, modern, clean-lined, with a valet line of black sedans and the occasional silent Tesla. She stepped out like she belonged. The attendant smiled, handed her a small envelope with her name printed on it. Inside, a table number and a single access card. The room was gold-lit, high ceilings and quiet jazz echoing from a live trio on a raised stage. She walked past tables full of executives, investors, names she'd seen in magazines but never met. Everyone looked like they were exactly where they were supposed to be. Her table was near the back. She pulled out the chair, looked down at the name card. Observer, guest of Marcus D. That was it. No last name, no title, no mention of their former life together, no wife, no partner, not even a hint of shared history, just a placeholder, a footnote. She sat slowly, pulse rising in her ears. A server passed, offering champagne. She took a glass, hand trembling slightly. She looked across the room. I stood near the front, speaking quietly with a woman in a slate gray dress, confident, minimal, the kind who didn't need sequins to shine. When I took the stage, the lights shifted. The crowd quieted. I didn't look toward the back. I didn't scan the room for her. I spoke in calm, measured tones about legacy, design, long plays, and short exits. She wasn't mentioned. No part of the story included her name, and that was the point. She had dressed for a reunion, but what she walked into was a debut, and she wasn't the co-star. She was a seat filler, nothing more. The lights over the stage were soft but focused, designed not to dazzle, but to sharpen every line of the speaker's face. I stepped up to the podium with no notes. I didn't need them. The crowd wasn't noisy. This wasn't that kind of room. It was a room full of quiet power, founders, investors, legal architects, board chairs, people who watched, took stock, and remembered everything. My name had been read slowly during the introduction. Just Marcus D., same as the card at her table. They didn't list titles or past affiliations, not out of formality, but intent. In this room, the weight of your presence said enough. I glanced once around the crowd, never landing on her. I knew exactly where she was seated, and I knew she expected something, an acknowledgement, a glance, a single word that would tether her back to the narrative. But that wasn't the story anymore. Sometimes, I began, a single sentence teaches you who you've become to someone. The room leaned in. You could hear the ice settle in a glass 3 tables back. It doesn't come in a fight. It's never loud. It arrives quiet, slurred maybe, tossed out like lint, but it sticks. I paused. Let it breathe. When you hear you're irrelevant, you learn to make new space. Not louder space, just cleaner. Silence, but the heavy kind. I didn't need applause. I wasn't auditioning. I was reporting. A hand went up in the front row. A journalist from one of the mid-tier business outlets, young, eager to be first to ask something quotable. Marcus, she said, polite but firm, your work's obviously had a renaissance this year. I wanted to ask, is your wife here tonight? The question was meant warmly. Light curiosity, maybe even an easy headline. I looked directly at her. No smile. I don't have one. A ripple passed through the room. Not gasps, not drama. Just air shifting. Yeah, I waited. No one else asked anything. I nodded once to the moderator and stepped off the stage. Behind me, the music resumed. Polite clinking of silverware started back up. Conversations flowed again. I walked past her table on the way out, never stopped, never turned my head. She stared at her untouched plate, the name card still upright in front of her. Observer, guest, nothing else. There was no seat reserved in the future for someone who laughed at the foundation of it. She'd been waiting for a second act, but I had already rewritten the script, with no role left for her. And the night air was thick with the scent of distant rain and warm asphalt, the kind that clings to your skin and makes the quiet feel heavier. She stood alone under the archway near the valet circle, arms wrapped around herself, heels planted too tightly, like she might disappear if she moved. Her lipstick was faded, eyes glassy. The confidence she'd worn in with that navy dress had melted somewhere between the ceremony and now, replaced by something raw. The other guests filtered out in pairs, in quiet groups. Laughter echoed behind her, but never touched her. Then the black car pulled up. She saw me before the driver did. I stepped out from a side entrance, handed the man my valet ticket, and stood still while he opened the rear door. I didn't expect her to still be there, But I wasn't surprised either. "Marcus," she said, her voice catching. "Marcus, I wasn't thinking that morning." I paused by the door, turned to face her. She stepped closer, the sound of her heels quick and uneven against the pavement. "I wasn't thinking," she repeated, softer now. "I was angry, stupid. It didn't mean anything." I nodded once, calm, unshaken. "I was thinking." She blinked, confused by the simplicity of it. "I thought for weeks before that morning, about what I was to you, about what it meant when you came home drunk and told me not to ask questions. That morning, you didn't forget me. You erased me." She moved in, hands twitching like she wasn't sure if she wanted to touch me or beg. "Can we talk?" she whispered. I leaned in, not cruel, not angry, just final. "You once said it was none of my business," I said quietly, so only she could hear. "Now it truly isn't." Then I stepped into the car. The door closed with a soft click. She stood there, unmoving, framed by the soft gold light of the overhang and the hum of the idling engine. The driver pulled away slowly. I didn't look back. She never tried again. No texts, no messages, no last call in the middle of the night. She knew. Some endings don't need a grand gesture, just a line, and the silence that comes after it.